Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Harra. I think it's really clear from everything we've heard already this morning that HMRC are absolutely key in delivering the schemes that are helping us get through this crisis and that will help us get out of this crisis. It's bound to, isn't it, have a huge effect on your day-to-day services. Whilst we've alluded to it already, could you perhaps reflect a bit more on what impact this is going to have, all the diversion of resources, the impact that you're having from home working that will have on the delivery of your day-to-day objectives?
I think, first of all, certainly for the last 3 weeks, as we've made radical change, we have kept all our services going, and we are not actually setting aside any work that's not getting done for customers. And that has, I guess, slightly surprised and delighted me, I have to say. But whether we will be able to sustain that in the coming weeks as we both face the height of the pandemic, which affects my colleagues and their families in the same way as everyone else, but also the peaks of these big new schemes, I think there's likely to be considerable strain on our services, but I do believe that will be temporary and that we will be able to restore that pretty quickly once we're through the implementation of these schemes. I think the main sort of impact is on the workforce and the way they work. My colleagues have both stepped up and delivered amazingly, but they've also radically changed how they work. And coming out of this, I think I'm expecting my colleagues to scratch their heads and think about how they want to work in the future, and that may well be the same right across the economy, frankly. None of us, I think, really knows how our lives are all going to be different after this experience, or the extent to which they're just going to go back to normal. And I think HMRC is in the same boat. One thing that the last few weeks has demonstrated to me, however, is that we are extremely flexible, far more flexible perhaps than we realised. And it is actually that is key to coping with whatever comes up with this and being able to respond to that.
What about major projects such as IT, or even, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the Brexit talks, for example. What major projects are going to be delayed, postponed, or what effect on major projects is this likely to have, do you think?
Yeah, so there is bound to be some impact, and indeed, the government has already announced the deferral of some big measures that we are responsible for implementing, not necessarily because of the operational challenge for HMRC, but because of the challenge more broadly to all the other actors in the economy who all have to contribute to delivery of those projects. So there's undoubtedly some tax reforms and some administrative reforms that will happen later than we had previously planned. And of course, within my organisation, some senior resource and also some key resource, for example, in IT and project management, is being diverted in the short term into delivering these schemes. In relation to EU exit, we remain committed to delivering for the 31st of December. That is when the government has said the transition period will end, and that is enshrined in law. And I am trying my best to protect those projects that HMRC has to deliver. But of course, the things that HMRC are responsible for in relation to the end of the EU exit transition period are not just things that HMRC itself has to deliver. The whole of international trade, the border industry, such as the ports, as Eagle mentioned earlier, all have changes to deliver as well. And we will be monitoring closely their ability to respond in that, given how they are also being diverted at this moment.
Mr. Harra, have you asked Treasury for any more money?
I haven't specifically. Resources have, frankly, I have written a letter to the Chancellor telling him that there will be a bill later on, but I have not specified how big that bill is going to be. Resources, frankly, have not been an issue throughout this. The Treasury has made it clear that this is the Chancellor's absolute top priority, and I have felt that whatever resources I need, I would get. But in reality, it has been such a fast pace of weeks that we have not stopped work out budgets and get budgetary transfers. I've simply put a little saying something will follow.
But you get the impression that Treasury are open and accept that there will be a financial implication, obviously, for your budget as the months go on.
Yes, I mean, whether that is additional resource, because as I say, it's quite the opportunity for me to bring in additional resource in this timescale is actually good. So what we're really looking at is redeploying resources. We will later on understand what is required to get back on an even keel, and we will have the same discussions with Treasury that any department would have about how we do that.
And obviously there's been the added implication of delaying the spending review. How have you managed the resources and that delay, really?
So we have done quite a bit of work internally to get ready for a spending review, which thanks to general elections, etc., has already been delayed before. But it is the case that in recent weeks we have pulled resource away from that, sort of working up those strategic propositions to focus on what we have to do. And I would expect that's the same in other departments. So quite apart from the Treasury not being in a position to carry out a spending review when they might have liked, I think probably at the other end of that, neither are we. But as I said to Mr. Baker, I do believe that our strategy for the department will run through all of this, and we've got a good idea about what we need to do to be a trusted modern tax and customs administration in the future, and the kinds of propositions we would put to Treasury when we're ready to have a spending review.
And just finally, there's one specific programme that you've been doing, which is based around regional centres. And changing the format of the organisation. Will that continue? Is that still part of your programme, or would you think that might be something that changes as one of the longer term impacts?
I mean, I don't at this point believe that fundamentally that strategy will change as a result of this. There is undoubtedly going to be an impact on when it can be delivered. We've already got 3 of our regional centres up and running, and we're financially committed to all 13. But in many of them, construction has stopped, or it has been pulled back because certain things can't be done in social distancing. So I'm sure that is going to have an impact on when regional centres can be delivered. We're currently modelling what that is, but frankly, at this stage, we don't know how long construction is going to be disrupted. We have taken a couple of steps with our colleagues. So, for example, in February, we launched an exit scheme, and so there were colleagues who were expecting to leave us in the next months, but we have contacted all of them and said that if they are willing and able to stay on and work for us, we're happy to extend that until the 30th of September. In addition, the next exit scheme that we're going to launch in April or May, that has now been deferred and will not happen before the end of June. And we've also recently announced the long-term extension of our sites at Washington and Centenary Court in Bradford. So we have always iterated those plans, and I'm sure we are going to adjust them in light of the experience that we're having now. But fundamentally, that remains our strategy.
Thank you, and just finally, just thank you for everything you and your staff are doing, because it really is key to getting us through that. So thank you, and thank you, Chair.